What's up, party people? It's a Friday. This has been a tough week for me. I am doing well in the market, but I don't think I disclosed this on my last YouTube a few days ago. But I have made two decisions in the last 6 days or last six trading days, that have been incredibly painful for me. The first, which is insane, is last Friday at like 8:15 in the morning. I sold my BHF $45 calls that were expiring at the end of that day when the stock was trading right at $45. I didn't want it to pin, and I got 55 cents for the calls. And just 15 minutes later, the Bloomberg article came out that sent the stock to 57. Massive, massive financial ramifications for me doing that. So that sucked. And then if that's not bad, I sold my 2% position in Cure last week, I think, as well. Um, just felt like I had no business being into this readout. Didn't think particularly positive about the readout, but also was never really in Cure for HD. It was originally, well, I've owned it for years, so that's not entirely true. But when I was really big, it was because it was a net. I did a lot of videos on this channel about Cure a couple years ago, and this was just kind of a legacy position that I had left over. Of course, that 2% position would be worth like 7% today, so, or 8%. So huge, huge mistake there. The good news is I'm doing well with the rest of my portfolio, so can't cry over. Well, I can't. I did cry. You can cry, but I'm gonna choose to move forward. So with that, I thought it would be a good time to do a short video on FWRD and BHF, just like I did a few days ago on Monday, I think, um, and just kind of do the lay of the land right now. So let's start with BHF, since that one is the one that's been in the news. Um, Bloomberg said that the board could decide as soon as next week, which was this week. Didn't say a deal could happen as soon as next week. And Reuters didn't have any timeline on it, but both were advanced. And we are now at Friday, and there has been no deal in BHF. And we got that Einhorn letter on Monday, which I never discussed in this video. Um, People are interpreting the Einhorn letter in a lot of different ways. Some think Einhorn's worried the board's not going to want to sell, and Einhorn is trying to pressure them to selling. Um, uh, my take is that there's no cost in Einhorn issuing that letter. He wants to get it to the finish line, and if that's what it takes to make sure that there's no bid ask uh, issues between the 65 and the 70, then he thought he would issue the letter. Um, I don't think he's definitely not restricted or in the know of what is happening behind the scenes. If he did, he would never issue that letter, and there's no reason why he would be. So I don't take it negatively in any way. I look at that as a mixed bag from a deal perspective. Him issuing the letter, I think it makes it slightly more likely for a deal to happen, but then it gives the buyer a little more ammo to shaving $1 or $2 off the price somewhere in that 65 to 70 band. I would like to point out that this whole idea that the 65 or 70 is some outrageously high premium just really isn't true. The stock was trading in the upper 50s in June before the Reuters article came out. I think it was Reuters that said that the bids were slightly above it. So my guess is the bids were around 65 then when it was trading at 58. And relative to book value, obviously it's a substantial discount to their adjusted book value. Again, this is an insurance company that's very, very complex with the accounting, and I wouldn't even begin to try to tell you that I understand any of it. I don't. Um, but long story short, I remain just as bullish as I was a week ago, though I did think there'd be a deal this week. It's very important to note we have not had a negative article in BHF or in FWRD for that matter. Um, if I think that they are on the 11th, in the 11th, I was going to say in the 11 on the 11th yard line and then the 11th inning, and neither of those make any sense. They're on the 2 yard line, and I think it's very likely we get a deal on Monday. Um, I'm happy we haven't gotten a negative article. That would be, uh, you know, the way that we would get a break there would be in a negative article that talks have cooled, and just hasn't happened yet. Could it happen? Sure. I thought there'd be a deal already this week, and there hasn't been. So that's a huge position of mine. It's in the low 30s% delta adjusted. I continue to think that the call spreads are the best way to express that trade, since it's just a binary bet on what you think the odds are of a deal by OpX. If you don't think it can be done by October OpX, you could put on November's. I just can't even fathom how this is not done in the next 21 days, given the timeline of events from the July Wall Street Journal article to the early September FT article to now two advanced articles from last Monday. Again, I think it's happening on Monday. So again, if I have 21 days from now, I'm more than happy with October OpX, which is what I've been buying. And I'm focusing on the 55-60 call spreads, so that if it is a 65 or 66 or $67 deal, this trades above 60, and we capture the full binary bet. I've been paying anywhere between 260 and 280 for these. Today, they're probably more, closer to $3. But at $3, it's saying it's a 60% chance of a deal by OpX, and that it will clear the $60 price threshold with the ARB discount. And I think this is much more like a 90% chance. So I love that discrepancy there, and that's where I am with BHF. With forward, those bids, the final bids were due early September. In my mind, the definition of early September is before the 10th of September. And we're now sitting at September 26th with no articles. Okay? And to me, that's only good news, because this process was a public process, and they will have to issue an 8K and a press release if the process has failed. And they would know by now with certainty if there was no final bids, or if the final bids didn't reach a clearing threshold that they needed to sell the company. I've said this many times already. I don't believe there is a clearing threshold. As long as it's above $30, I think they're going to have to take the final price, and you'll have one or more shareholders roll with that price into the private, into it being private. So you're sitting here today at $27. It's a very levered stock, very levered company. The more I sit on it and the more I look at and analyze the situation, I do think this can be an upper 30s or $40 deal, surprising the street, since I can't believe I just said the street. I hate that phrase. Because there's so much leverage here. So each turn of EBITDA is like $8 a share. So if you have a competitive process, which you do, it does not seem hard for me to get to at least the high 30s versus the 27 you're trading at. Again, most of that position is structured as a call spreads, though I have huge common. In fact, in forward and BHF, I'm sitting on, I'll just do math in my head a little bit, like 20% common positions. No, a little less than that, sorry. 17, 16%, something like that, common positions in both of those. So my math's really fucked up here. Like 18%, something like that. They're the same common positions. They just happen to be that way. And they both have big downside in a break. Forward could go to the teens, and BHF could go to 35. So I'm taking that risk. I need them both to hit. I think that they're very likely to both hit. I think that's about it. I hate to say this on here now because it just keeps going up, but I did put on a 4% position in MLTX today and yesterday. Below here, mostly gambling. The little I see about the trial from the phase 2 trial, it seems like it's likely to replicate it, which would make it a big win. But yeah, that's our full disclosure. 4% position in MLTX. The rest of them, I'm not sure there's much to say. INVT's having a great day. I told you I made that big. Yeah, that's it. All right. Hope everyone has a great weekend. I will do a YouTube if any articles come out on FWRD or BHF. Other than that, have a great weekend. I hope we wake up Monday to 2 deals and MLTX positive data. Back to the forward again, by the way. Why? It's been what, 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks since those final bids. Um, Again, the most likely is that there's a bidding war, or they're just finalizing the contract with the winner. Um, they would know by now if there was no bidders left. And Clear Lake being involved is so huge because they own 12%, or I think it's like 10% of the company now. And They're not going anywhere, I don't think. And I think they fully understand the background of this company, and had all intent to buy in the last 2 years, and especially since July when they put out their amended 13D. All right. Peace. Have a great weekend.